Hi there, this chocolate pocket's nice. I'm going to try and resize and bevel some string. So this is roughly 1/8 inch string. And I'm trying to figure out which side is the skin side. This is some wet stretch string that I cut about 1/4 inch, and it necked down to a little under 1/8. And I'm just looking to see if I can bevel and resize it at the same time. The answer is yeah, maybe. So I'm going to see if I can zoom in a little bit. So this is the resize pass, so it's going to be a little wonkier. But it's like, I don't know. This is still damp from resizing. It's like, I don't know, not quite 4 millimeters. I'm just trying to get it to see if I can figure out what size I can cut this to or get this to. Okay, so there's right at a little over 4 millimeters. So I'm going to try and make this whole strip 4 millimeters and beveled as best I can. And it's going to be squirrely because I cut it at 1/4 inch or 6.5, 7 millimeters. Then I wet stretched it so it necked way down. In some areas it's squishier than others, but this is veg tan kangaroo. And I kept it in a bucket with a lid to keep it moist from yesterday where I was wet stretching this. I probably don't need to be that zoomed up, but so this pass I'm basically beveling off a corner, but I'm evening it up to be 4 millimeter string. And it's like 4.5 millimeter, 4 1/4 millimeter, and right at 4 millimeter, or just a hair under. So it may skip out, but I'm trying to make this string as perfect as I can. It's just a hair under 4 millimeters. And I've got a hank of string coming apart at the bottom down here. But this is wet stretched veg tan kangaroo, which started off the lightest tan you've ever seen. And it darkened up with getting wet. And things to consider if you're beveling and using this beveler with a double-edged blade is that the blade itself is got a double bevel, one on each side, and so that shape there compresses the string as it cuts it, so it polishes the edge as well as cut it. And it may not matter for some things. So this is a hair undersized through here. Again, this is wet stretch string. Beveling the first edge and trying to standardize it at a certain width. You could tell about wet compacting is super strong. Also, beveling the string while it's tempered and damp is different than trying to do it while it's dry. So some of this string is narrower than I want it to be, but as long as it's peeling off a nice bevel or compacting the lace as it goes through, I'm pretty happy with this resize pass. This is like 60 feet or so in this bundle. This area is probably more like 3.5. So I'm going to feed it manually a little bit. Why did I choose the name Pocket Snakes? So, pocket snakes is a type of whip that fits in your saddlebag, a pocket snake is. And I'm on the spectrum, and so I thought, well, why hasn't anybody else grabbed the name? Then it turns out it's a double entendre. There are other meanings, so. But at that point, I already had a website, and I was already making little things that fit in your pocket, so it made sense to keep the name. And it's a funny name. But I wasn't thinking too much about a name when I started the name. I just had to give it a name, and I like to make little snake whips that would fit in a pocket or a saddlebag. Okay. You can always wipe away from the sharp edge. Wiping the other way results in having a bad day. So a trick, if you're using a beveler of some sort, you can cut a piece into a feather like that. You can start it through. If the feather's the right angle, grab it with a pair of needle nose or your Leatherman tool. You can get it started. I necked this down a little bit. What's my dog's name? I've got Sammy, who's an older corgi, he's probably 9. And I've got Penny, and she's about 3. And the corgis are constant entertainment. This area in here is a little thinner than the rest of it, but I'd rather keep its integrity for thickness or for width to be roughly as good as I can get. And I only have a little bit of time to spend with you guys, but I thought I would go bevel up some more of this finer grade stuff to play with for building whips. And it is cutting a little chaff off of there. It's just really fine. And this is an area that was a little bit undersized, but still taking the corner off of it. And I'm glad I have some returning viewers who are coming back. Double tap the screen if you like me sharing these things, or hit the bell if you want to see when I go live. And I'll try and answer questions. You have liked this live stream. Thank you. I appreciate the likes. I've only been live streaming for a few weeks. I got started on YouTube and I would share stuff, and then I wasn't very good at editing, and it's like, well, with this vertical live, it lets me use the cell phone in a vertical position, and I can braid, and people seem to like it, which I appreciate. I think I hit 1,200 subscribers or something like that. And I was at 800 a month ago, 700, something like that. I've got a ton of videos with different tips and tricks and lots of stuff. Okay, so I managed to pull the blade sideways. So this hide is a veg tan kangaroo, and it's really tough stuff. So the blade has to be super on point and super sharp in order to keep cutting it. And I'm just trying to knock a corner off the flesh side. it up a little bit. Yeah. Right at 4 millimeters still. So that's a good sign. I was a little worried that I was out of spec. 4.03 millimeters. And if you were stitching, this makes wonderful stitching thread with it beveled and stuff. It lays real flat. If you're braiding, it's beautiful stuff and super strong. It'll cut your hands up. But I cut this whole veg tan hide up and cut it about 6 millimeters, 7 millimeters, and then I pulled it through and wet stretched it to get to here. I gained a lot of length in the stretching process because it necked down to a half the size almost that I started with. And that's okay. The main thing you want to do is make sure it's strong enough and try and make it as consistent as you can for the string. You just use more strings, do a higher plate count with this if you're braiding a whip. This is plenty strong for whip making, even though it's only 4 millimeters. But you might have to make a 16 plate or 32 plate stock or something with it. Okay, so there's the string. Should probably spool that up real quick. Let's see if I've got a plastic spool. Show you my spooling rig here. Kind of center it. It's not going to be perfect, but stepping on the string. And kind of tuck it so it's got a friction tie. Okay. And I've got the bulk of that hide that was cut. And I think this is a little bit wider. I might be able to get by with increasing the width a little bit. You can see that the wiggles on this side. So okay, I'm going to kick this back open a couple kicks. See how close we are. That looks pretty good. This is a resizing bevel pass on some veg tan kangaroo. Make sure I'm cutting the right side before I cut a whole bunch of this. Even with my glasses, I can't tell. Okay. That is on the right side. It just rolled, so it's good I stopped. This is a few hundred feet, so this is bigger. Might be a couple hundred feet of string here. But every time you go around a bend or hit an area that didn't compress or stretch as much, it's not going to quite catch it. Okay, so obviously this shrank just as much as the other did, so back it up, kick this down one turn, take it down more on the resizing pass because obviously it needs it. The goal is to get it as consistent and a width as possible and beveled at the same time. It's a bit of doing two things at once. But if you guys have questions, feel free to type me a question or hit the like if you like watching stuff being made. This is the string that I wet stretched. It's wet stretched kangaroo. It's still damp from last night. I just threw it in a bucket to keep its moisture level up. So it's kind of tempered and stretched and still damp. Normally I let it dry in between, but I thought I would just try resizing it, see how it went. You try and make the string as perfect as you can before you start any project. But some considerations come at costs that you may not want. Like beveling this will make this string weaker slightly, but it will lay prettier. And I'd love to have this all be the same width so I can just reach up and pull 14, 20 feet, 4 or 5 meters right off the top whenever I need it, instead of having to cut it and size it on the same day as I'm going to use it. It's nice just to have it on the spool. But you can see the variance because this was rough cut lace. It's resizing it and beveling it at the same time. There's some areas that are barely cutting anything because it's right on the edge of the small size. And then as you go around corners, you'll see it get thicker, like right there. So where it went around an outside edge, and even after being compacted, it's wider. Do they have whip competitions? Yes, they do. I used to make boomerangs. So there used to be boomerang competitions too. I don't really generally go to the competitions. I enjoy making really beautiful things that move well, and a lot of stage performers like my stuff. There's a lot of people that buy my stuff, so most of them are in different countries. Belgium, France, Germany, a lot from Germany, England. Canada. But if you make beautiful things and pay attention to all the details, and people like your artwork, and making a beautiful whip is an art more than a science. There's a lot of science to it, but just getting the string right before you start really does help. There's a big LA whip convention that comes up in LA in January. For those of you that are interested in whip competitions and conventions. I'm in southern Arizona, so I'm a long ways from LA. Not terribly long ways, but I have other commitments on the dates they usually choose near the 20th of the month, so I have other things I have to be doing. But if you're a whip maker or a whip enthusiast, it's, I hear, a nice show. Lots of famous people. My goal was never to be famous. My goal was just try and perfect an art form that most people don't care about. And I'm amazed that anybody watches my videos, but I care about what I'm doing, and I try and share it with people so that they can riff off of my ideas and hopefully be successful with making whips and things. Somebody was telling me to double click the screen, and I didn't understand because if I double click the screen, it doesn't have to do anything. Apparently, as a user on YouTube, if you double click something, it probably gives them a like. So I was trying to double click stuff during my last stream, trying to see what happened. So this is the resizing pass on a few hundred feet of kangaroo string, cut out of a very light tan. Would you guys like to see the color it started before I got it wet and stretched it and stuff? Because I can go find a scrap, I think, of it. I mean, it's a really light tan. It's like a deerskin tan almost. It looks like a chocolate right here, but when it dries, it won't be nearly that dark, I don't think. If you guys have some questions for me, I'm happy to talk to you guys. I can't really type and do this because my hands are busy and I have a hard enough time trying to read questions on the screen, but I will try. You have to shift your focus away from the blade, which is a good way to get bit. I'll be right back. I've got to run and move some stuff inside. some more. Just it's resizing, so it's going to take all the wobble out of the lace, or a good part of it, maybe not all of it. Um, yeah, I'll come eat. I'm just working my way through. I'll be right there. I'm in the middle of shooting a video. last 25 to 30 feet on this one. And then I'll take a break, go eat. Might come back and live stream some more, I'm not sure. Get all my stuff in a row here, all the ducks in a row. Yeah. There's a spool of string. Probably got that much more to do. But for now, I'm going to grab a bite to eat.